Hi, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Danielle.
And this is a Twinstrands Podcast.
I forgot to look at the episode number before we got started. This is an episode number January 2024 / everything we made in 2023. We're not going to be doing like a typical podcast episode today. We are just going to be talking about everything we made in 2023. And we're just talking about objects finished in 2023. Not like start to finish, but everything we finished in 2023.
Not works in progress either.
Yeah.
I have like a couple, like that shawl, like big projects that I put quite a bit of time into last year that I didn't finish.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So yeah, that is the plan for today. We're going to try to keep it as brief as possible. So this is not a 36-hour video. And just briefly mention what pattern we used, what yarn we used, and any big thoughts about said pattern or yarn. But yeah, well, I guess I will get us started. I've got things kind of in chronological order. Kind of, but not particularly. So, the first thing that I have is a shawl that I made. I did not use a pattern for this. It is, I have it listed on my Ravelry as Walk the Line shawl, and it is using Laine du Nord Poema in number 303. I just did a basic triangle shape, and I had a 4-cable twist up the middle. So that is the first thing I finished in 2023. And I just have a giant messy pile of knits on the floor by the end of this. And then the next thing that I have, I actually don't have them here with me. I made some fingerless gloves for my dad, and I used the Foxall gloves pattern by the Rainey sisters. I'll put a picture in. And then I used, I'm pretty sure the yarn that I used for it was also Laine du Nord. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. And I don't remember exactly what it's called, but they've got a sock cone that I got at the yarn store, and it's got a section about yay long in the middle, very, very exact middle of the sock cone that's white, so you know exactly where your halfway point is. But yeah, I made those.
My, as best as I can guess, first thing that I finished in 2023. If you watched our, I think, first episode, you'll know I am not good at taking notes on my knits. And until we started podcasting, I had no reason to take notes on my knits, so I just didn't. Once we started podcasting, I have things kind of in order a little better, but for the first part of last year, I don't know for certain what things are in order. But anyway, my first thing that I finished in 2023 is a dragon scale scarf, and I did not use a pattern for this. I just did the crochet alligator stitch and some math, and then cast it on. I love the way this looks. It is so cool. It is such a time sink. If you have not done an alligator stitch before, you want to try it. It really isn't hard. I wouldn't be intimidated by it, but realize that it is a time sink and a yarn sink. This was 4 skeins, I think, of yarn in like a worsted weight yarn. I don't remember. It was a Hobby Lobby brand yarn. I don't remember which one it was. Not to know like the fiber content or anything. It's a wool blend, but yeah, I'm happy with the way that this came out.
The way that the yarn variegated and everything is really cool on that, because each of the scales is pretty much like a different color.
Slightly different. I do really like the variegated yarn with this. I feel like it shows dimension a lot more and makes it look more scaly.
Yeah.
I want to make something else with this project. I mean, with this pattern, this stitch, but I don't know what. But yeah, it's really cool.
It would take so much yarn, but a big shawl would be so cool.
Oh, it would be so cool.
I should have mentioned at the beginning, most of my things are on Ravelry. I've got several things at the end that are not on Ravelry, and all of those things I did not follow a pattern for. The thing that was the most helpful for me that I started at the beginning of last year, and I think I'm going to follow it over into this year, is I have a little mason jar with all of my yarn ends and scraps and stuff from the various projects. So not like all of them, but you know, that's actually for an ongoing project. But like when I finished a project and had like, you know, just a little bit of yarn left over, I would throw it in my mason jar. Or I would just take one of the ends that I wove in and snipped off, and I would toss it in here. That was actually really helpful when I sat down to create my list of everything that I made, because I was able to just dump out the mason jar, kind of like sort my yarns out, and then I can remember, oh, this goes to that. And this is something that I do plan on doing this year as well, because it was a fun little look back, and a lot of the things that I actually finished this year, I had forgot I had finished this year. So, that was that. So the next thing that I have is a muscle bra by Isolde Teague. And then the yarn that I used for this is by Andromeda Sock Yarn. I don't remember the colorway. I know one of the colors I got from her was Juniper, but I think that was the one that I used in my Geogradient shawl. I think this was a one-of-a-kind colorway that she has. I have worn this hat like crazy this winter out working cows, because it is the only like full muscle bra I've ever actually made. That's actually, you know, full length enough to be able to fold back over. Very warm, really like it. So that was that one. And then the next I have to make is not going to show up or the next thing I'm finished in 2023. It's not going to show up very well on camera because it's this big long cardigan. I obviously did most of the knitting on this in 2022, but I did actually finish it in 2023. And this is the Portage by Melissa Thackeray. I'm sorry, I don't know. I used Must Be a Merino in the colorway Olive for this. I have mixed emotions about this cardigan. I love the cardigan. I liked the pattern. It has this cool like brioche stitch all along the back. It has pockets. It's the literal perfect length. Like, I could not be happier with the length that I made this cardigan. I love the color. The yarn, though, does not hold up. And even though I only made this year, it's already, and it's not showing up as well on camera, but it's already just looks, it's not truly pilly, but it just kind of looks worn and worn out. So, and because it's got a lot of acrylic content in it, it's just not the same as like a pilly wool sweater. So anyway, but I do really like that sweater, and I would recommend the pattern. Just not the yarn. So that was 2 for me. Okay.
My next finished object is the hat for Thorin by Nicole Larkin.
Color is my cardigan.
This was a test knit, and she very kindly provided the yarn for me. The yarn is Baby Cat Yarns in the color Genovian Pear. And I finished this right about the same time that I finished my dragon scale scarf, and took a picture of them both together and sent it to her, because this is a companion pattern for a shawl that she did based off of Thorn Oak and Shield in the Hobbit series. But yeah, nice, lovely hat pattern. I love all of Nicole's patterns, and Baby Cat's yarn is a great fingering weight wool yarn. So definitely recommend.
All right, the next thing I have to talk about is actually back here. I don't know if I've ever actually talked about this on the podcast. So this is covered in dog hair. This is my Deco City shawl by Amy Vanderlaar. And I used Juniper Moon Stargazer in the color Terracotta. And it's got just this great, you can tell it's been sitting back there since we started the podcast because it's all wrinkly. But it's got like I just really like the like Art Deco type yarn over
Lace work.
Yeah. It's not showing super well. I'll put a picture. I'll see if I have a better picture of this to show it better, or I might just put the picture from the Ravelry page in there. But that was really fun. The yarn is super soft, like just so soft, and I really liked that yarn. And then the other thing that I finished was our hot water bottle cover. I did not follow a pattern for this. I just kind of knit it to fit our little hot water bottle. And I used, Hobby Yarn, sock yarn, one of their Halloween.
Yeah, I don't have it written down either.
That's as much as I remember about the yarn for that. Again, I didn't follow a pattern for it, so I didn't really keep very good notes. That is that.
All right. My next finished object is just a black hat. It is a muscle burrow kind of. I followed her increasing pattern. It is very oversized, but I made it that way for a reason, and that's because at my previous job, I worked in dog kennels, and when we were cleaning the kennels, we had ear protection, earmuffs that we would wear because the kennels it was all cinder block and metal and very, very loud. And so in the wintertime, I needed something that I could put on top of my earmuffs to keep me warm that would stretch over them. So I made this extra large because if you can imagine, if I was wearing earmuffs, it would fit perfectly. I thought about ripping this out and reknitting it a smaller size. The problem is
it's super fluffy yarn.
Yeah, the base yarn itself, it's two yarns held together. The base yarn itself was like a fuzzy wool, and then I held it with black mohair on top of that. And so I really don't think there's going to be any ripping this out. I think I'm probably just going to keep it oversized, and I can wear it over earmuffs, like if we're going hunting or we're going shooting or something like that.
Or you could wear it over a second beanie.
Like I have done
really
that.
Needed.
Yeah, I have done that. I've also worn it under another beanie because
hair sticking out.
It has helped to keep this one on. It's so soft, and it was perfect for what I needed it for. It fulfilled its purpose exactly. I just don't work there anymore, and so yeah, very, very comfy.
Okay, so my next pattern to talk about, I'll show it to you, and then I'll put pictures up because it's not going to show very well. The pattern is called Devite, and it is by Amy Palmer, and I used Queensland Savannah. It's a tank top that is kind of open in the back, like it just crosses in the back, but it stays closed because of how it's made. It's just really hard to show you pictures of here. But I did take some pictures of myself wearing it, so I'll put those up. Not the most flattering fit in the entire world on me. However, it is super comfy. It is super cool because the yarn is a linen blend or a solid linen. I don't remember exactly.
Savannah,
I'll put it up.
Solid linen. I think I could find out for you. I've got a sleeve of it in there.
I'll put it in. So it's really cool. I wore this, and the pictures that I actually have of it, I was in San Antonio on a particularly humid and sticky, warm day, and I was biking around all the different missions. So I was like kind of outside in the elements, getting hot and sweaty, and this was very cool and very comfortable. I think I'm going to try to do some altering to it to try to make it a little bit more flattering on me. I plan on sewing the back, or at least tacking the back together, and maybe doing a couple of other things to make it to where it doesn't look quite so much like a flour sack. But I think that was more of there's nothing wrong with the pattern. I do love the pattern. I did knit it without the sleeves because I wanted a tank top. I just think that the way the pattern fits and then the shape of my body are just not a great combination. So that's on me, not the pattern. However, I would still recommend it, and I would still recommend the yarn. The next things that I made were
this picture of Gertie.
Oh goodness. I made 2 beanies. This is the I don't know how to say this. Cinzia beanie by I forgot to write in the author. The pattern creator's name. I'll put that up there too. It is patterned. It's on Ravelry. You use dip stitch. This is technically the second and third time that I've followed this pattern. I do really like it. It makes such a nice, just like chunky looking knit. I had the yarn that I used was Yarn Bee Fireplace Comfort in the color Splash of Color. I actually didn't realize I was going to have enough to make 2 beanies out of it. I had wanted to make one for myself, and then I had enough left over to make a whole other one to give away, and I still haven't given it away. But yeah, I would recommend this pattern. It's really fun. The dip stitches is fun. You're using it in a thick enough yarn that it doesn't take absolutely forever and a day, and it makes a super cute beanie. Well, yeah, that is that.
Great. My next that I made, I don't have them with me. It was a pair of socks for my mom, which I also did not use a pattern. I was looking at my list. I have like 14 listings here, and 8 of them don't have a pattern. Yeah. I didn't use a pattern.
Yeah. I think last year was like the year of discovery for us. And
figure it out.
Figure it out.
If you don't watch Nerdy Crafter, watch Nerdy Crafter.
I feel like we kind of got to a place where we were really comfortable with our knitting, or at least I definitely felt like this for myself, in that I finally got to a place where I felt confident enough to just sit down and, I want this item, and so I'm just going to make it. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I think that was definitely the year of that for us.
But, so these socks, I don't know if she wears them very much, but Mom really wanted a pair of socks. And they're made out of Universal Yarns, bamboo pop sock yarn. I knit them toe up, and I did a little bit of like a lacy rib at the top of them just to have a little bit of interest. That is a bamboo sock yarn. Couldn't tell by the title. Mom does not do wool. So yeah.
The next 2 things that I have to talk about, I do not have here. So the first one, we are now to the point in my kind of chronological order to where our podcast started. Because the first thing is my moss stitch in a square blanket by Sarah Zimmerman. I use Sheepy's Chunky Monkey in the colorway Plum. It is at our parents' house because that is my dad's blanket, and he loves it and uses it all the time. So I made that. And then, I would recommend the pattern, and I would recommend the yarn. I would say for an acrylic yarn, Sheepy's Chunky Monkey is a good quality, I feel, and it's just a nice chunky yarn. Then the other one that I have is just a bunch of wash rags that I made. Again, I talked about this in our first. No, I didn't talk about the wash rags in our first podcast. I talked about them in our second or third podcast. I made 31 washcloths.
I made a few of them.
Kristen made a few of the 31 washcloths, and then I made the rest. So anyway, so I made a bunch of washcloths for our church's family camp to go in the gift bags. I'll put a picture in. I think they were all well received. I had a lot of people say they liked them, so that took a while. I didn't follow a pattern for any of them. I think, no, I didn't follow a pattern for any of them. A lot of them I just did the, the old traditional corner to corner wash rag. Some of them I just did straight across. I just had fun mixing patterns and textures and colors and all that kind of thing. And yeah, that was that. Those were two.
Right. My next finished object is the Summer Days tank top by Pearl Soho. I really wanted a couple of tank tops this year. I made 2 of them, spoiler alert, and both of them are too short. I really need to figure out something to do. Well, that one's not getting adjusted. This one, I don't know. I really like the pattern. It is knit bottom up, which is how this one ended up too short, because I really thought that I was making it long enough. It's got a split hem on it though, and I just did not.
It's not too short here. It's at the split that it's too short.
Here, right? That's too short, yeah. So like if I'm wearing them with like a really high-waisted pair of leggings, it's fine. But none of my jeans are high-waisted enough for it to work well with. And so anyway, I haven't worn it out a whole lot. I'll wear it around the house because it is very comfy. I made it in Barocco Comfort Sock, which is a wool blend. The pattern I would recommend. It's a free pattern. It was very easy, and I really like the pattern, and I would like to make another because I do like the split hem. I think I'd like to make another and make it more oversized, because when I put it on, this side section, it's got like a garter section here in the side, and it's supposed to be so that when you wear it, it kind of like folds in on itself. But I was stretching the yarn that I had to make it work, so I didn't make it quite large enough either, and it kind of stretches out that side panel to where it's actually a side panel versus being oversized. I like the pattern. I like the yarn. The yarn has held up very well. I would just like to make it again in a larger size and make it a bit longer.
Okay, so the next one I have to talk about, again, I don't have with me because they're already packed up. I have a yarn fuzzy in my eyelash and it's driving me crazy. Already packed up in the fall stuff, but I made the chess pie pumpkins. I was actually a test knitter for that. That pattern is by Amanda Tozy, and I used various different yarns. The pattern I think calls for bulky or super bulky, potentially. I don't remember. I will put it in. To test knit, I asked her if she minded. I went to Hobby Lobby because I had very specific colors in mind that I wanted to have for our pumpkins. And she said she didn't mind. So I literally just went to Hobby Lobby, found the colors that I wanted, and then figured out how to make those yarns work. So a lot of the yarns I held double, some of them I held triple, or I think one of them I like chain plied as I knitted, which I hated doing. And so, yeah, I would definitely recommend the pattern for that. I ended up making several of them. I don't remember how many. And they are very cute, super quick pattern. Really easy to make if you're a beginner and are wanting some home decor, fall decor knits. I would definitely recommend it. And then the other one that I have is my Stag Beetle Tee by Alexandria Wenninger. I still don't know how to say her name. I used Knit Picks palette, and the colors are Lark Heather for the green and Oregon Coast Heather for the white contrast color. I love the pattern. I love the yarn. It's bottom up. I wish I had made it just about this much longer. It's not too short. It's just a little shorter than I prefer.
You need to try reblocking yours, because I made mine. I thought we both followed the pattern, and mine's longer than yours.
Yeah. Yeah, I should try reblocking it and see if I can stretch it out a little bit. It's not too short by any means. I can wear it with like regular jeans and it's fine. I just wish it was just a little bit longer. But I have worn it quite a bit. I do really enjoy it. Would recommend.
My next item is another tank top. There's also too short. And this is, I followed a pattern in the fact that I downloaded the pattern and followed the pattern literally just to get the neck shaping. Once I did the neck shaping, the chest and all of that was all just, I just played by ear as far as the shaping on the rest of it. The pattern was the linen tank pattern by Bluebird Pine Shop. And the pattern itself was very, very nice. It was easy to understand, very well written. Top-down tank top. I just kind of had something specific I wanted out of the tank, and I made that Pearl Soho tank top before, but I hadn't made a top-down one before, to know how to do it. Like I said, it is too short, but I do have a bit of more yarn of this. So I think this year I'm probably going to find where the end was, cut it, rip it out, and then just add some length to it. Shouldn't be too hard. The yarn has held up pretty well. I've worn it, I don't know, 4 times or so. I've washed it at least once, and it hasn't pilled like at all. It's a cotton, linen, and silk nettle yarn blend. Euro Yarns Belviso in the color Juniper. Jupiter. Sorry, Jupiter.
Juniper.
Jupiter.
That's an interesting name. Alrighty, where am I at in my list here? Okay. The next one is my Wingin' It wrap by Leslie Ann Robinson. Make sure I'm showing you the right side. You want to take that end and we can kind of like scroll it across. This was the, just start taking it that way. This was the official knit along for the 2023 DFW Fiber Fest. I was short on my yardage, so my Wingin' It wrap is the Wingin' It wrap mini. I kind of shortened all of my sections and just went for it, but I was happy with the color combo. To be honest, I haven't worn this since I made it for the event. I don't know if I will wear it. I don't even know if I'll keep it, because I don't really like keeping things I don't wear. So it may end up getting gifted or sent out eventually, but the whole point was, they were both yarns I already had in my stash. The whole point was just to do it as make along and to do it for the Fiber Festival. So it served its purpose. I enjoyed it. The pattern was well written. It's just not really in my taste, like in my personal style and taste. So if it's something that you like, I would definitely recommend it. It was well written, and it was great to try different stitches. And both of the yarns were good. I don't remember what yarns I used. This one, you could look back. I know this is in our podcast, so you could find the yarns in particular. I know this one was hand dyed, and this was a Knit Picks Hawthorne in the color Eugene. I remember that now. And the purple was. But you could get more info back on our previous podcasts for that one. And then the other one that I have to talk about is my Raquel jumper by Rosa P. And I used Barocco Arno in the color taupe. This jumper, again, if you go back and watch the podcast episode where I talked about this, you will realize the crazy back and forth story of this jumper getting finished. It is definitely too short. I do have another skein of yarn of this that I didn't realize I had, so I do plan on at some point, if possible, the yarn's kind of fluffy, but if possible, I plan on ripping back and finishing out to make it a little bit longer. I would recommend the pattern. Again, I think it's just one of those situations of the pattern and the style of the pattern is not the most flattering on my body, but it's very, very comfortable. The yarn, I would definitely recommend. The yarn is super comfy. I have actually worn this quite a lot this winter, just as a like throw on pajama top house sweater. It is super comfy for that. It's really warm, and I have worn it out of the house once, but I have worn it in the house as a pajama shirt a lot, and it's really comfy for that. So I would recommend both of those. Hopefully, I'm thinking if I can lengthen it a little bit, maybe I'll wear it out in about, maybe not. We'll see.
My next finished object is my stag beetle tee, which I didn't write down the person's name. I knew you had it on yours.
Alexandria Wenninger.
Okay. Which we made, if you didn't see our podcast where we talked about the Fiber Festival, we wanted to wear kind of matching sweaters, or tees. But Danielle doesn't like matching, and so we needed to make them different. So we made them different colors, but then I also did my own color work for the bottom of mine. And I did these cute little snakes. My red color was... I don't remember. You can go back and watch the other podcast. I did not write it down, and I'm sorry. But anyway, I'm super happy with the way this came out. I wear this. I've worn it to church several times since getting it, and am very happy with it. I love it. I really want to make at least another color work T-shirt like this.
Yeah.
It was fun, and it's been really nice to have in my closet. And I'd probably use Knitpicks palette again. Like it's held up very well. You would not know that I have worn this. I mean, you can see a little bit of felting, like right here in the armpit. But other than that, you wouldn't know that I have worn this as much as I have worn this.
Yeah, when we made them, I wasn't really sure how much I would wear a wool, like a fingering weight wool t-shirt. I was like, that's just kind of a weird, your wool, so it's warm, but then it's t-shirt, so it's cool. But honestly, it's very wearable in a lot of different climates. Obviously not when it's 110 outside, but pretty much any time I'm going to be inside, like at church or in the air condition, it's totally fine for that. I would like to make another fingering weight wool t-shirt also. Okay, so the next two things that I have are hats. The first one is my Way Bosset hat by Kara McKinley, and I use Santa Scarn Sunday, and I don't remember what color. I haven't wore this hat since I finished it. I love the Sunday. I had never knit anything with Santa Scarn Sunday before. I really like the Sunday. I even like the look of the pattern, but I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the hat. I don't know why. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like I made it, and like I'll like it, but I just don't really like to wear it. So we'll see what happens to this hat. But there is that one. The pattern was fun to have, just like a different type of slip stitch pattern. I would say it's not very well written. There was a lot of comments on Ravelry on it being a confusing pattern, and it definitely was. I had to sit before I started knitting this hat and like figure it out and write up my own chart to be able to follow. And then when I got up to the decreases, I didn't even try to follow the pattern. I just did my own thing because the pattern is very confusing to read. However, the knit stitch is really unique and really nice, and I do like that. And of course, Santa Scar and Sunday, everybody loves it. I would recommend that yarn. I just don't know why. I'm just not in love with the hat. And then the next one that I finished was my Sawtooth hat by Carol Vole. This one I talked about in the podcast, how the colors bled together once I blocked it, and
your yellow turned into another green.
My yellow turned into kind of a green. I haven't wore this either because I plan on gifting this eventually. Because again, I'm just not a huge fan of how it came out. But it was fun to make. I would recommend the pattern. The yarn was Polar Bear yarns. I don't remember the colorway. Campfire, maybe? It was a sock set. I would recommend both.
My next finished object is my Wing and It wrap by Leslie Ann Robinson. And it is the full size. I made this with the orange is West Yorkshire Spinners in color number 6. The other one, I don't remember the hand dyer's name, but it is in the color Barn Owl. And I really like the way it came out. I think I have worn this once since I wore it at the Fiber Festival as a scarf. Again, I got fluffing my chapstick. I don't wear scarves to like church and stuff, and we've had like a couple of cold enough days, but they've all been days when I'm working and I have to wear a uniform at work. So I haven't had the opportunity to wear it very much since I made it, but it's very comfortable. Like, it's thin and drapey enough that it doesn't have to be cold. I feel like I'll wear this a bit more next fall, when it's just starting to get cold, because it is more of a fall colorway. But yeah, happy with the yarn, happy with the pattern. Kind of like Danielle said, it's not really a pattern that I would pick, but it was well written, and it was kind of potato chippy, because like each of the sections is a little different. So if you need something that you can just, let me get through this one section, and then, okay, now let me get through the next section. That was nice. It was easier to break up into chunks, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so then the next one I don't have with me. It was my Textured Dinosaur Knit by Angela Louise Wood. I used Baby Bee Sweet Delight in the color Green Light. It was a commission piece for a coworker of mine, who, by the way, her friend that she had commissioned me to make this piece for just had her baby on Friday. So
Aww.
yesterday? No.
Yesterday
Thursday.
was Friday.
Day before yesterday, she had her baby. And she took the blanket with her to the hospital
Aww.
to take the baby home in, which just like makes me so happy. Like if I make something and I give it to somebody and I never see them wear it or use it the whole time, like I'm worrying about, oh my goodness, they secretly hate it. I shouldn't have made them that. Like, So anyway, I love to see people use the things that I make. So anyway, so that made me happy. So baby is born, everybody's good, and they're going to be taking baby home in the blanket. I liked the pattern. I say I liked the pattern. The end result was adorable. I shortened the rows in between the dinosaurs. I talked about that in all of our podcast episodes. I didn't like knitting the pattern because it wasn't charted. It was all written out, so I just had to count over and over and over again, and not a huge fan of that. However, I would recommend the pattern.
You should have charted it before you started
I
it.
really should have. I would, if I were to do it over again, I would have done that. I think the pattern would be great for a beginner knitter because it is just knitting and purling, but the end result is super cute. Would definitely recommend the pattern. And the yarn was unremarkable. I don't really have anything to say bad about that or good about that. It was just a fairly cheap acrylic yarn. So that was that. And then I also made a hat for Kristen for Christmas. And I also talked about this in our December podcast. So the last podcast, I used the sock yarn that's been around forever.
Croy.
Yeah, Patton's Croy. I held it double, and I just did a 1x1 rib. I didn't use a pattern for this hat. That was it.
My next finished object is also a hat that I did not use a pattern for either. I talked about it before and after I made it in one of our podcasts. This is a buffalo yarn that we got when we were in South Dakota. And I had made a cabled hat with it originally. It was too small. And last year when we got a yarn cabinet and when we switched all of our yarn over to the yarn cabinet, I found the hat and decided I was going to rip it out and reknit it in something more wearable. So I ripped it out. It's just a 1x1 rib hat. When we had a really cold snap, I wore this under another beanie at work, and have worn it quite a bit this year, just because of how warm and versatile it is. And because I made it nice and long, I can really shove it down and like fold up to have a really, really thick brim. There was not enough yarn for me to do like a full-on muscle burrow, which is okay. But yeah, I'm happy with it. Although every time I wear it, I realize I didn't weave in the end. And I don't remember that until I go to put it back on again. And it's on the inside. Nobody cares. But yeah, I keep forgetting to pull it out and weave in that end.
Alrighty. How many do you have? Because we may need to start going every other.
5.
I have
6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, yeah, let's start going every other because I have like 1 or 2 more than 6, but I basically have 6 left. Okay, so the next thing that I have to talk about is my Geo Gradient shawl by Stephen West. This was my first ever mystery knit along. It was an experience. I did it for the experience. I wore this shawl a couple of times around the house. I don't know if I'll really wear it out in public much
Still
or
the Gru
at
shawl.
all. Yeah. But I did it for the experience and I enjoyed the experience. I don't know if I would do another big M-cow like this, but I'd always wanted to do one. And so I just decided to do it. I used a variety of different hand-dyed yarns. All of the is on our previous podcast. You can find all the info about that on there. But
I forgot to decrease.
what was that?
My next finished object is we're kind of out of order, but I'm going to lump all these together. It was the last thing that I finished last year, and that was a knitted lace cardigan for my mom for Christmas. That was also made, it was in the same yarn that I made the tan tank top out of, which is Euro Yarns Belviso, and that was in the colorway Gertrude. I know we inserted a picture of it in the last podcast. I have not seen her wear it yet, but they were out of town and then she was sick. And it's been cold. But I did not use a pattern for that. I just cast on a rectangle and then started knitting. and then, or I cast on, was knitting it's a rectangle with armholes. And yeah, I think she likes it. Anyway, your turn.
The next thing that I have to talk about, I don't have with me. It was the hat that I made for my dad for Christmas. I actually made this back in June or July, I think. June.
I think it was June.
I made it in June. And I also used, why can I not? Patton's Croy. I also used Patton's Croy sock yarn for that held double in the color Eclipse, I believe. I'm pretty sure it was Eclipse. And it was just a 1x1 rib hat, and I used the decreases from Norman from the Nimble Needles podcast. He has a how to knit a hat for beginners post on his blog, and I used his decreases for that hat.
Okay. My next string of things is going to be socks. I knit 5 pairs of socks this year. Well, finished 5 pairs of socks this year. This pair got started in 2022. I don't remember what yarn this is. It is available at Hobby Lobby, and I hate it, and I'm never going to knit with it again. The yarn itself, well, I say that. I've got a pair that I'm finishing in this yarn, and then when I'm done with those, I'm not knitting socks with it again. The yarn itself is stretchy and elastic, and so it kind of messed with my tension, or it messes with my tension while I'm knitting it. This was just knit toe up. I don't know if you'll be able to see. Don't think you will. There's just a little bit of like a dipstick kind of texture on the top of the foot and the cuff of these. I don't wear these too much. The next 3 pairs of socks after these ones progressively all started fitting better. These ones don't fit too badly, but they don't fit great. So they kind of fall off my foot as I'm wearing them. Yeah, that is those.
Next item I have to talk about, I also don't have with me. It was the pillow that I made for my mom for Christmas. I crocheted it. I love this yarn in a few different colors. Talked about it in our last podcast. I kind of wrote my own pattern for the front colorwork part with the camper. And then for the back, I used the moss stitch in a square blanket pattern that I had used for my dad's blanket on the back of the pillow. And yeah, it was, I did not enjoy doing colorwork and crochet. And those of you who do enjoy colorwork and crochet, I admire your patience, because I'm used to colorwork and knitting that if, I need a white stitch, I just pick up the white yarn. And if I need a blue stitch, I just pick up the blue yarn. Versus in crochet, having to finish the last blue stitch with the white, and the think ahead that it takes to do color work in crochet is crazy. And I was not the biggest fan. So those of you who are prolific colorwork crocheters, I'm in awe. Yeah. But yeah, that was that. She liked the pillow, so that was all that really mattered, I guess.
My next finished object, I think I have these in the right order. I think. This is another pair of socks. Again, toe up. All of these were toe up, no pattern. These are just vanilla socks. The body of the sock, the yarn is West Yorkshire Spinners. Do you remember the color name of this one?
It was a bird. It was like partridge or
pheasant.
Pheasant.
It was pheasant.
I was stuck on prairie chicken, and I knew it wasn't a prairie chicken.
No, not prairie chicken. And then this is just a Barocco comfort sock for the contrasting heels, toes, and cuffs. This sock fits quite well. It's a little bit big, but the length was right. And this was the first pair of socks that I knit, but the length of the foot to the heel was right. I think this was also like the second pair, I don't think that other pair was a Fish Lips Kiss heel. This was like the second or third pair I did a Fish Lips Kiss heel. So I started like, this was the pair where I started to figure things out with my sock knitting and what I needed to do to make them fit me. I did do 1x1 rib, about an inch on the back of the heel. Natalie from Knitty Natty, that is something she does a lot, and you can see it there, kind of how it makes a dip in the heel. So if you have a high instep, or your the width around from your heel to the top of your foot, if that is larger than your ankle and your calf, you can do 1x1 ribbing. That way it kind of pulls the yarn tighter around your Achilles tendon, but you're not fighting to get the sock over your foot. Yeah, sock science is cool.
Okay, the next thing I have to talk about is a cowl that I actually have with me. I finished this back at the beginning of the year. I did not follow a pattern for this, but I did follow a pattern for the stitch, but I don't remember what the pattern was. It's this kind of cool dip stitchy, I think it's technically, I don't know if it's technically a brioche stitch or what. I have very little, I didn't make any notes about this, and I barely recall. I remember making it, but I barely recall anything about making it. So I'm sorry, I can't provide any info on this. I just knit it back and forth for as long as I could, and then I seamed it up the back. And I'm gonna like super make a lot of noise with the mic when I go to put this on. I'm sorry. Here, I'll just do this. I have worn this a lot, actually. Also when out working cows. It is very warm, being how it's knit double. It's the perfect length for me to be able to like tuck up over the hat that I'm wearing and up over my nose and mouth, and it stay there. I don't remember what yarn I used. I'm wanting to say it had alpaca in it, but I don't know for sure. So yeah, I don't really have much info to tell you about this other than I made it this year.
All right, my next is another pair of socks. I wanted to get these done before Halloween, and I finished them like in September, so goal accomplished. This was the leftover of the yarn that Danielle used to make the hot water bottle cover. So it is, I had it until I was
Hobby Yarns.
Thank you, Hobby Yarns, in one of their Halloween colorways. If it's self-striping yarn and I'm making the socks for me and not for my mom or somebody else OCD, you will never see me color match my striping in my yarn. Like, that's a lot of work and I can't be bothered. So the stripes, the color stripes don't match up, but who really cares? I did do alternating heels, toes, and cuffs, and I did a green and a purple yarn. So like this one has purple toe cuff and a green heel, and this one has green toe cuff and a purple heel. But that worked out pretty well because where I split my yarn, this one has the purple cuffs and toes and it starts with the green, and then this one has the green cuffs and toes and it started with the purple. So I was gonna make these a little bit taller, but I was just to the point on both socks where they were going to start going into the next color again. So this one was going to start a stripe of green up here, and with the way that all of it lined up, I didn't want that. I wanted to keep it as it was. So I stopped them where they were. They're not too short or anything. They're still a crew sock. I had just planned on using up more of the yarn, and I did not. But anyway, these fit very well. probably like the second best fitting pair of socks that I've made. So yeah.
Okay, the next one is also a cowl that I also did not follow a pattern for, but this one's just a basic stockinette stitch cowl that I had knit to just knit it, and I'll eventually gift it to somebody. This is a hand-dyed yarn, and then for half of it, I was going to use the whole thing held with this black mohair. I started off with black mohair, and I really like it with that, but then I didn't have enough of that, so half of it is with mohair and half of it is not. I will give it away eventually when I find the right person for it. It's really soft. The hand-dyed yarn, I'm pretty sure, has a silk content in it. So it is just that super drapey, soft, silky towel. Not really much to say about it. I just cast on however many stitches, did some 1x1 rib, stockinette, and then finished off with 1x1 rib. That was that.
All right. My next item is another pair of socks, and the last pair of socks that I made this year. And I made these after we went to the Fiber Festival, and Red Stag Fiber Company gifted me a sock ruler. And so this is the by far best fitting pair of socks. Fits perfectly, and I actually wrote down what I did as I was knitting them so I can recreate them. I'm very proud of myself for that fact. This is my favorite pair of socks I've made so far. Like, I really like the way they fit, the color, the way the color came out, everything. I'm super happy with them. The sock itself, the main body is Andromeda sock yarn. I don't remember. Pikes Peak? I think it's Pikes Peak is the colorway. And then the mini skein that I use for toes, heels, and cuffs is an unknown mini skein. We got it in a wool swap. So I don't know where it came from or anything like that. But it worked out perfectly. There's little bitty specks, you kind of see it, of gold throughout the Pikes Peak, and it matches the toes color so well. But yeah, I'm really, really happy with these. I do on my socks I cast on the toe a bit wider and then decrease, just because we have very narrow feet, but I try to focus and like think about kind of splaying my toes as I'm walking around, just so that we can keep our feet strong, kind of like the barefoot socks and that kind of thing. So I do cast on a wider toe and then go down and do my fish lips kiss heel. But yeah, again, no pattern, just a toe up vanilla sock. Fits really well, and I'm super, super happy with these.
All right. The next thing I have to talk about, I completely forgot I made this item until I was pulling stuff out to get together for this. Like, I literally completely forgot I have this. Is a baby blanket that I made. I had bought this yarn, I think originally to make a tank top out of it, but it's 100% acrylic and kind of heavier weight. And so when I realized what that was going to look like as far as a tank top goes and how that was going to wear, I decided not to make a tank top out of it. So I went ahead and just knit up a baby blanket. I did this without a pattern. I did just corner to corner. And every however many rows, I don't even remember, I did stockinette, and then however many rows I did a row. I did garter stitch. I did a row of knit one yarn overs, and then on the way back I did a row of knit two togethers to make the little eyelet pattern. And I think I actually have somebody in mind to give this to who's having a little baby girl soon. So I think this one will soon be gifted out.
It's kind of like a weighted blanket.
I don't even remember. It is. It's kind of heavy. I don't even remember what yarn I used for this at all. I just remember it was acrylic. And so that's why I didn't use it. Anyway, I completely forgot I made this until I pulled it out. Obviously, the scraps of that did not make it into my mason jar. Otherwise, I would have found them.
I only have the one last thing.
I have 2 things left. Okay. So, the second last thing that I'll talk about, I don't have with me. They were the hats that I made for the doctor that I work with, for her little girls. I had talked about them in, I think, the last podcast, or maybe the one before. I used I Love This yarn. I didn't follow a pattern. I made them both different. I'll put up a picture. She really liked them.
All right. My last thing to talk about, which sort of breaks the not talking about works in progress, but not really, is my Battenberg blanket. It is still to the point of squares. I have not gotten to the point of even starting the neutral squares or picking out my neutral yarn. But for the most part, I've been pretty good about making these up as I have come up with fingering weight scraps. I do have a few that I need to add in. But yeah, I should have started stacking these earlier.
Yeah.
This feels like the marshmallow challenge.
It's hard to stack them all together. There's a lot.
It's here. And that doesn't look like very many when I hold them up. But there is a lot of Battenberg squares here. I need to finish up the ones I have, do a count, and do some math to figure out how many I need, and how many more I need. But yeah, that was the other thing. I did a lot of Battenberg squares this year.
The last thing I have to talk about is also no pattern. I had gotten this yarn on super clearance at Hobby Lobby. It is their hand-dyed wool yarn. And it was like just a couple of bucks a skein. And so I bought it to make something out of, and then I was tired of it sitting in my stash, so I decided to make something out of it. So I made this little bag that is not my colors at all, but I think it came out really cute.
It did.
And I will definitely be giving this to somebody. I did not follow a pattern for this at all. I started off, I honestly barely remember how I made this. I think I just made started off with a triangle, and then I picked up stitches along the edge and knitted up to a point. I cast off some stitches in the middle to make kind of like a little grabby handle here. And then I still had yarn left over, so then I made a shoulder strap. I did on the corners, you can kind of see it better on the inside. I did just a purl one on the corners. I was thinking that would give it a little more structure. I don't know if it actually did or not. And I was also thinking that would make it really cute if whoever got it decided to use it inside out, and give it a little more structure that way.
I think I like it better inside out.
Yeah, but when I sewed on my little tassel-y thingy, it's kind of messy, so that's why I don't keep it inside out. But anyway, this will be gifted eventually. When I find somebody that'll use it. I was actually pretty happy with how this came out.
It's cute.
Like I said, not my colors. I wouldn't necessarily use it, but I do think it came out really cute. And it was just something different to make and try. So that was it. I think that's everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's everything for you.
I think
That's
so.
everything for me. So that is everything we made in 2023. And we're just at an hour and 5 minutes. That's actually not too bad.
No.
I don't think, for two people's goals for this upcoming year. Mine would be to knit through my stash. Maybe I say knit through my stash. I don't mean like knit through my stash. I just mean
knit from your stash.
Knit from my stash, and to severely limit the yarn that I'm purchasing this year. I'm trying to do kind of a no-buy here this year. So, and I've got plenty of yarn to choose from in my stash. If I need to buy some yarn to go along with the yarn that I have to do the project I want, then that's fine. But I don't want to be buying like a sweater's quantity of yarn somewhere, even if it's on super sale. I know that's really hard for me. I don't want to be buying a sweater's quantity of yarn somewhere until I finish up what's in my stash. 2 reasons behind that. 1, again, trying to do a no-buy a year. 2, I much prefer to buy yarn after I've picked out the pattern. Like, I much prefer to see the project, decide what I want the yarn for, and buy that. But I can't in good conscience do that when I have already like a sweater's quantity of yarn in my stash. So I want to get my stash down to a point to where I can do that. And so that, I also purchased a notebook specifically for my knitting stuff. I want to be better at making notes on everything that I'm making, so I've started doing that. And then I will also be doing the mason jar thing again this year, where I put all my little scraps of things that I have finished in this year in the mason jar. That's my goal for the upcoming year.
My first goal for the upcoming year is to go through my works in progress and either finish or frog what I have. Like there's one thing that I know I just need to frog it. It's not going to work, and I'd rather use the yarn for something else, I think. And then there's another thing that I just need to finish. So finish or frogging my works in progress so that I can start exciting things, because I haven't done as much knitting this year. Part of that is my schedule's been changing around, and so it's kind of made all of my routines go away. But the other thing is, like, I feel like there have been quite a few projects that I have wanted to do but haven't started because, but I need to finish this, but I need to finish that, and the but I need to finish items are all things that I'm not really excited about. And so I need to either finish those items or just frog them, and that way I can knit the things that I'm excited about knitting. Also, kind of like Danielle, knitting from stash, I want to get my stash knocked down, and get to a point where I'm buying the yarn that I want for the pattern that I want to make, versus looking at my stash and going, okay, this is the yarn I have. Now what can I make out of that? Yeah, I want to knit things that I'm excited about knitting. And part of that's going to be finding patterns that I like and then buying the yarn for them. But yeah. That's it.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode and it wasn't too long and too much of a slog to watch. I always enjoy watching people's What I Knit in a Year episodes. And we will see you next time we see you. And we'll see you later.
Bye.